an amazing partner and stuff like that. Well, become an amazing partner for yourself. Do the work, self-love. Don't go on any dates and date yourself. Become that loved person. So that now, as we know, the reticular activating system in the brain and the law of attraction and all that woo-woo shit, it's going to happen. You're going to bring that person in. Because again, it just comes back to that discipline is the ultimate form of self-love, man. It's just.
Welcome to another episode of the Limitless Life Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Smith, and if you have not done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another podcast. And if you love this podcast and you want some more tips and tricks on how to improve yourself, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There are a ton of instructional videos there. You can find the links down below. However, my friend, before you go ahead and wander on over to the tubes and subscribe here wherever you're listening, I'd like you to stick around and listen to a wonderful, good vibe, fresh and fly friend of mine, Caleb Wood.
Let's go, dude. I love it. That was the most epic intro. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that one had
absolutely.
That one had some good fly. Yeah, that was a good vibe one for sure. Must have been the breath work that we had.
Yes.
But, my friend, before we were chatting, we were talking about a lot of cool stuff. But before we dive into the little what's that called? It's a cliffhanger for what the topic was. Something that I like to ask my guests is so that the listener can have a better understanding of the individual that I get to speak to, that I get to have the honor of speaking with today. How is it that you impact the lives of the people around you?
Oof, that's awesome. That is you said there was going to be some heavy hitters, and that's one of them. That's a really good question, man. I think it really goes back to early childhood, man. I think I have always truly, not to, brag or boast or anything. I do think I have been having an impact on many people's lives around me for many, many years since I was a kid, man. I think I've always seen the good in people, even bullies, and kids who are assholes as kids, you know what I mean, or whatnot. I always truly tended to see that people are rooted in love, even to this day, man. And whether you're a murderer or a rapist, I do think deep down that's not who you are. You know what I mean? I think that everyone is rooted in love. So I've really approached kind of every conversation and interaction with that, truthfully. I don't know where that came from. I like that question because now it's making me think of where exactly that came from. I have very loving parents, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. But I think now in my life, I'm helping people become more, kind of purpose of my business is to help people become more health sovereign, if you will, and kind of find freedom in their health through holistic practices, man. So whether I'm making content, that's my intention, whether I'm making on a coaching call with a client, that's my intention. Through our experiences, that's how we become the best coaches, I believe. And so if I've helped myself through things and I've become health sovereign, if you will, I think I can help people do the same thing. And that's what we're doing. So it's, yeah, man, I think just leading with love and impact and compassion and understanding and trying to help people just become healthfully free, if you will, and health sovereign.
I like that, man. I love health sovereign, dude. Healthfully free. I really like that. So that obviously would impact the generational health of an individual's family. Hey,
yes,
man, I love that.
It's crazy because you talk about a ripple effect, right? And kind of that like effect, like you asked me that question, what is the effect that you have on others around you? The more we take care of ourselves, the more we're disciplined. And I have a kind of my mantra in my company is discipline is the ultimate form of self-love. And that is just so, I think it's perfect because it's like a little pebble you're throwing into a pond. Is the more you throw these pebbles and that's hitting your workout or eating a good meal or having a tough conversation, doing the things you need to do, right? Your disciplines that you need to do to become and live as that person you want to be, that exuberates and hits and resonates with so many other people just like a wake in that little pebble being thrown out. And so I've seen that cascade into my family, my friends, people hitting me up years down the line, like, hey man, that post you made a while back ago, or that conversation we had sparked something in me, and I've been working out ever since, or I've been eating, real food ever since, or you know what I mean? I cut out fast food or whatever, just some health or just a shift that they had. And that's the impact that came from me just doing it on my own, right? That's the me holding myself accountable for what I want to do for my life. And it's pretty cool when those like almost like subconscious intentions kind of, kind of hit others and cascade into others. So it's a beautiful thing, man.
I agree with that. It's kind of cool. Like, I'm not really surprised that our philosophies kind of converge.
Yeah.
I'm not, but it's cool, like, because this is our first time really chatting about it, like,
right,
to this degree. And I completely agree. Like, every time that I'm struggling with something, I think of myself, or I think of it in a sense of, am I addressing this from a place of judgment or a place of compassion? Because we can be compassionate and judgmental at the same time. We can only be one or the other. It's kind of like how we cannot be anxious and grateful at the same time. We can only practice one or the other. We're either practicing anxiety or we're practicing gratitude. We're either practicing compassion or we're practicing judgment. Oof. And that leading with love has been a foundational component. And the thing that I think is interesting is that I think that it ripples out from the inside out rather than the outside in. So I find that when I recognize I desire something the most, giving it is the first thing that'll help me receive it. So giving love, if I desire love, then I will give the love to reciprocate that love. If I am feeling angry and I want to feel love, then I'm not going to spread anger to receive love. That doesn't make sense, right? And
love that, man.
Yeah, I absolutely love the leading with love component, because with the ripple effect, I think it starts from the inside and then it ripples outwards, where in my mind, discipline is just a stepping stone towards respect. And respect is a stepping stone towards self-love or self-care. I think this is my own thought on this one, but folks put an emphasis on self-care rather than self-respect. Right. But if we put self-respect before self-care, we'd actually get more caring feedback.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a little tangent there. Jesus.
Dropping bombs.
Yeah, it's so good.
You need a little bomb sound.
Yeah, where's the little, like, the little board, the keyboard thing?
Yeah.
So going something that's so cool. Okay, do you think, given what we were chatting about before, do you think actually what has, okay, I'm going to ask you a pretty cool question. I think I worded this pretty neat. What gift has the idea? What gift has death, or the concept of death, given you as a gift? Or what is the gift that death has given you? There we go.
I love that. That's a great question. It's like the immediate response is just like, well, kind of life. Like, get after it. Live the life that you know you're meant to have. You know you want, because you're going to die. I just, on that topic of death, I love. It's the only certainty in life, right? It's like, it sounds cheesy, but it's true. It's literally, we were born. That's one certainty, right? That's okay. We're here, which is a miracle in itself, right? We have 1 in 400 trillion chance of being born. You're more likely to win the lottery 1.33 million times before being born. That's your chances of being on this earth, you and I. And if that's not enough, and then the fact that we will die in a relatively short, a tiniest fraction of time in the history of humankind and the earth. You know what I mean? That we will be existing here. And in 300 years, like Alex Hormozy, talks about a lot. It's like in 300, 400 years, we're going to be completely forgotten about. No one
Totally.
will even know we exist. And so I think death has given me the gift. Ooh, this is a good realization here. Kind of the gift of compellment, if you will. So yeah, because man, I forgot who said it, where I heard it, but they were like, I feel so compelled to share this. And I think it was Sean Stevenson on his
Mhm.
the Model Health podcast.
Nice.
And I think it was him. He was saying, because he went through like spinal issues and things like that. And he's like, I feel so compelled to share my story to help others. And that just, I mean, I got chills just shit or going off right now. So it's awesome. And
Good.
so that is huge. I think the death gives me that compellment to help people become health sovereign, right? Um, so much so that I take that into every message that I send to people, whether I'm, doing my outreach to find new clients, right, and chatting with new people or something like that. It's like on the other end of this person might need this text so much that they could be thinking about ending their life. They could be in such pain that and depression that this saves their life. You know what I mean? And so that kind of compelling drive in behind every action and behind every purpose is probably a lot due to death. Yeah, absolutely. And I think death is just a reminder that hey, your time is limited. Where you don't get like look at the calendar behind you.
Yeah.
You only get so many weeks in your life. Would you do it to 100 or 120
I'm not even sure. I'd have to
years?
count. Oh, I did 100, but my goal is
100
125.
years. So it's man. It's like we're optimistic. It's like 125 years is the goal to be on this earth. That's a short time. Even that, it's yes, that's a long ass life lived. But I think another gift as well, not to ramble on here, but you said we
I
can
don't
go
mind.
down rabbit holes.
Please.
I think another gift as well is um, crap. I just lost that thought. Yeah,
All good.
shit.
I have a point that I have a cool little reflection. If it comes back, just interrupt me though,
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
sounds
okay.
like good. I think something that's really cool with what we were chatting about with the love of life. It is like it's the combination of a love of life
Mm-hmm.
while with the acknowledgement of this will end. And I think that that's a
Yeah,
beautiful, I think that's a beautiful combination where if,
yeah,
like you were talking about your messaging, and if you're messaging someone and
yes,
that's one of the darker days, and your message gets to have that catalyst and ripple effect into changing someone's trajectory, that is not just the, that is not just helping someone. It's not just a ripple effect of veering someone towards life rather than not. It is
right.
also the love of life that you have in
Yeah,
order
man.
to say like, nah, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that moment of
And
pause and peace.
yeah, man. And someone might be in a dark place, right? And I've been there before. I've thought about taking my life. I've wondered, hey, I wonder if I died tonight, if anyone's going to care tomorrow morning. You know what I mean? But now being on the other side of that and having a vibrant, full, beautiful life and appreciating and being in that state of gratitude and abundance, I want people to have that more, right? We're always going to have little bouts of depression, right? We're always going to have a lull in the week, right? Or something like that. But the goal isn't to have a perfect life all the time and be happy and woo woo all the time. The goal is to just limit those times that we're in that funk and maximize those times that we're not in that funk and that we're on top of cloud nine, right? So, or just kind of finding a balance in between, right? And kind of riding a cool coast, riding a cool mid wavelength of life. Like that's okay. You know what I mean? Um, but one gift I wrote it down because I remembered one gift that
Perfect.
death has brought is the fact that it's interesting because think about when you're in a depressive state, right? And you're kind of
Mhm.
down and out.
Mhm.
That's a long day, right? It's a long few days. It's a long week, right?
Mhm.
Then when you go out and you have a great time, you're having a birthday party, you go have fun. It's a short day, right?
Mm.
It's a short vacation, right? Vacation was so much fun that was like, damn, it's gone already. You know what I mean? And so it's like if we're living a happy and vibrant life, it's pretty short. Like it feels, damn, the last 10 years gone by fast. You know what I mean? You think about like grandparents talking to their kids. It's like, have as much fun as you can because it goes by fast. You know what I mean? Whereas if you live that life depressed, it is a long, long, trudging trek through life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather help people live the opposite side of that, right? And have a fun, vibrant, full life that they can really enjoy and love. And it's going to go by fast. And the thing about time is it's always passing like that.
Totally.
Yeah, man. It's always passing. The moment just 2 seconds ago and this one now is gone. Like,
Just quick.
yeah. So it's just gone, man. So good little tangent. Yeah, man. Life is long if you're not, and then it's like, well, what's the root of happiness? And I think Tony Robbins talks a lot about this, right? So it's like, okay, well, how do we be happy more? Well, progress equals happiness. Yes. 100%. And I've found it in my life. It's like, got my to-do list. When I get shit done, I feel more happy. It's like, hell yeah, I held myself accountable. The discipline, the self-love, it's all there. It starts aligning. Absolutely. When I start to feel like shit, I'm like, well, it's because I'm not doing my things. It's not doing what I need to do. So it's pretty cool how it all circles back to kind of discipline and just being self-love.
It does. Yeah. I very much resonate with, well, I'm probably going to say I very much resonate a couple times in this conversation, but I really like that. I liked actually reframing the search of happiness or the pursuit of happiness to the practice of joy. I think joy is a way of being, or this is how I frame things, is how can I be it rather than feel it? Because the internal world is going to respond to our external reality or thoughts, even thoughts. So by being a certain way, our feeling is going to respond to that. So we don't need to, so if we don't feel confident, but we go and perform, then how we feel is going to change, even if we don't have the information to back it up, if that makes sense. So then if we find ourselves being, then we're actually turning life into a meditation as is. So it's not just a meditation where it's either sitting, standing, or laying or walking. It's actually being, where it's like right now, there is just openness, where there's just presence, there's just being. And I think the thing that's really interesting is when I found myself participating in the practice of turning life into a meditation, I've found myself being energy neutral, where it's not too high, not too low. I find like I'm very energy neutral. And something I was reflecting on when I went for a little jog this morning was people always want to put prioritize how they feel rather than how they be. And I was realizing, I'm like, in any, like, presently, this hasn't been the case always. This is kind of newish realization that I'm kind of popping up like this morning that I had this, but I don't prioritize how I feel as often as I prioritize my output and my progress. And so I don't need to feel happy. I don't need to feel psyched. I don't need to feel sad. I don't need to feel X. I can just be in it. And then there's no resistance that I create in my mind because I'm so in it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I think joy is a practice. Gratitude is a practice. Persistence is a practice. Discipline is a practice. Anything that I can put under the category of a practice, rather than, I don't put stock in motivation. I look at motivation as a flaky friend. They're great when they show up, but they're the least likely to help you out on moving day.
That's great, dude. That is great. That is so true. It reminds me of I read Eckhart Tolle's book, or Tolle, however you say his last name, The Power of Now. And he speaks exactly to what you're saying. And the choices that we do have in every moment. It's either to change the situation, enjoy the situation, or accept the situation, right? At all times. That's truly the only options we have, right? So I love that, man. I love it. Yeah.
Where did this, I want to ask you about health sovereignty. How'd you come up? What's the idea behind health sovereignty?
Yeah, man. It's an interesting, kind of a a dichotomy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Being American, right? We are in America, the land of the free, and not to get like political, I'm not super political, but I have my beliefs about health and about longevity and about freedom. We're in a freedom country, right? We have the choice to do anything, create a business, eat what we want, do what we want, whatever, right? Um, but it's interesting because we're also in a capitalist society, right? And so without going too crazy into it, the government doesn't want us to be healthy. The government doesn't want us to stop eating fast food. The government doesn't want us to run our own businesses, right? Um, the government wants to indoctrinate us through the education system, right? And teach us how to work for other people, things like that. So the health sovereignty kind of came from those core beliefs and that realization that there's something not working in our modern society that we need to be aware of. We don't need to limit. Like I eat fast food, I go out and I have drinks. There's freedom in our life, right? That's part of it. But if we do it too much, then we get adverse health outcomes, right? Mm-hmm. So there's the idea that we need to adopt these kind of, truthfully, just going back a few generations, right? Like eat closer to the land like our grandparents did, right? The refrigeration system wasn't as good 60s, 70s, even the 40s, 30s. And so food was a lot more local, was a lot more nutritious, was a lot more nutrient dense, right? The poultry, the dairy was raw, these things, right? Until the government said, oh, we need to make pasteurized milk. And so now we have a totally dead milk, right? Is there's a little bit of health in there, but it's dead. You're not getting all the beneficial enzymes and all the probiotics and stuff like that from it. And so truly just adopting some old school tactics and having a little bit more of a primal kind of, if you will, kind of aspect to our lives, really adopting what our ancestors did naturally and gave them the ability to naturally turn on the right genetics of health, longevity, strength, happiness, purpose, things like that, right? Our ancestors were badass. They were lean, they were fit, they were driven to get the biggest kill, they were driven to survive. And it's like us running our businesses. We're driven to succeed, right? We're driven to spread the knowledge. So we are essentially modern hunter-gatherers, right? We're driven. We need to kind of tap into these ancestral philosophies, and they're not woo-woo. Some people they are, but I like woo-woo shit. I think it's cool. I
like woo-woo shit.
You know what I mean? I like woo-woo shit. It works. It's fun. It feels different. Like I don't want to just, just lift the weight. I'd rather do a breathing exercise and strengthen my mind-body connection while lifting the weight. You know what I mean? And that might be woo-woo to some people, but it's cool. I like it. It's different. It feels cool. It feels different. So the health sovereignty really came from, the way I was raised, standard American diet, right? Health issues growing up. I was had tonsils removed. I got strep throat all the time. I was a mouth breather, which goes back to what we were talking about, like with the mastic gum and stuff like that, and rebuilding the facial structure. But these were all, truthfully, I was a product of the American society, right? Like that's what we had. We ate a high carbohydrate breakfast. We didn't have any awareness around protein intake. We didn't have any awareness around circadian rhythms or things like that are starting to become a little bit more mainstream. And that I coach all my clients on. Like I'm literally prescribing my clients to go ground their feet on the damn earth. You know what I mean? Because there's a shitload of benefits to it.
Yeah.
So that health sovereignty, man, is just coming from a place of helping people want to take back their freedom in their health, their mental, spiritual, physical, emotional health, right? It's like, because the government ain't doing it for us. They want us to be medicated. They want us to be eating fast food and unhealthy. They want cardiovascular diseases. They want us to be in the doctor's office 3, 4, 5 times a year.
Yeah.
We don't need to be. You don't need to go to the dentist if you don't need to go to the dentist. You don't need to go to the doctor for every single, you know what I mean? You don't need to have a prescription. You can figure these things out. Obviously, there are deeper medical things, and I'm not saying that we need to like all of a sudden go live in villages and become whatever. But Western medicine has benefits, absolutely. But integrating Eastern philosophy, that ancient knowledge, I think is a really, really smart play for all of us.
Agreed.
And
I
it's
think
cool
it's
because
like
I think a lot.
hybridization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like right now, perfect example. Right now, I've been dealing with a sinus infection, which I believe, I don't even know what it is. I think it's a sinus infection from talking to some friends and stuff like that. But I've been trying to deal with it on my own, right? I've got like some respiratory spray. I've got, the neti pot. I'm doing oregano oil. I'm doing a bunch of
Mm,
NAC and quercetin, all these holistic, things that I think will work, right? But now it's
mm,
like, okay, it's been a month. I should probably go see the doctor. You know what I mean? I don't want this to turn into bronchitis or something. You know what I
totally.
mean? So that's kind of the theme. I know we're kind of running a little long on that topic, but yeah, man, health sovereignty is to, and I think if you think about it, it is the most American thing we can do, right? Is
Mhm.
reach our own personal freedom, focus on our personal health, build the health of our families. And I've seen the changes in my family as I've, like back to that question of the ripple effect. I've seen that the changes in my family, you know what I mean? And I've tried everything. I went vegan, was vegan for 3 years, and that didn't work for me. I started having dental issues, you know what I mean? And so my health coaching certification was through Primal Health Coaching Institute. And
Mhm.
that was a pretty cool time in my life to start reintegrating meat back into my life and stuff like that after I had done a bunch of traveling and kind of like deep meditation work, deep yoga work and yogic philosophy and stuff like that, and diving into that kind of side of health and wellness.
Nice.
So now it's cool to kind of bridge the two, like you said, kind of bringing in the woo woo and the science base, and let's bring it in. Um, so yeah.
Something I really like about that too. Very much so. I'm gonna definitely steal health sovereignty as like a
Yeah,
thing. I'm just
man.
gonna put it in my back
Mm-hmm.
pocket and like definitely gonna use it. But I absolutely, I, I definitely, I think something that's interesting because I think hybridization for a majority of things, it's not like I think folks are too quick, and I have been this way as well, are too quick to press towards one extreme or another extreme rather than thinking
Yeah.
of how can I take on things that I think may work and reject things that do not work. So it's just that idea of critical thinking, which I agree with. uh if I had a magic wand and I could change one thing up for at least specifically the school system, it would be
Mm-hmm.
integrating a philosophical class in order to
Yeah.
teach people how to think rather than teach people what to think.
Some critical thinking, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with with
Do
that
you now?
process, strangely enough, yes. I think with that process of being able to see like, oh yeah, I'll have some garlic and honey. And then if
Mm-hmm.
things there's always the other options. But I think it's like people will be like, oh, garlic and honey, I want to go to the
Mm-hmm.
doctor. While there's the other
Right.
end of the spectrum where it's like, no, no to the doctor, yes to the garlic and
Mm-hmm.
honey. I think where we find that
Yeah.
uh the I think the center of an overlap, like a Venn diagram, is
Yeah.
called the vesicus Pisces. And I think where we
Mm.
can find the embodiment of duality, where we actually
Love
embody
that.
this central, and rather
Mm.
than try to extend ourselves to one extreme or another, then we get to see things as is. We get to see things rather
Yeah.
than us looking for things.
Mm. I like that a lot. Yeah.
And personally, like it's so interesting. I'll actually tell you this is a cool one because it's kind of like uh I like to describe myself as someone where the far left and the far right would not very much be into whatever I say because I'm very like central to the main point, and I describe myself as a capitalistic hippie.
Awesome.
And so I had a
It's a good
friend of
way to
mine.
be.
I totally agree. I think because folks believe that one or the other. People are like, oh, hippies are lazy. Oh, capitalists are selfish. But
Right.
realistically, everybody's selfish to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yep.
that it goes with the intentionality of the individuals.
Mm.
And if so, for myself, I wouldn't say that I'm religious, but I would say I'm a very spiritual-esque individual, where it's the head, the heart, and the intuition, the conscious being, the animal being, and the higher being. And I think that there is a nice little trifecta of that, which I just popped up over time. But having that desire to lead with love and that that desire to help, that is compelled by an intuition that I am just trusting. I don't really know much on it, but I'm just going with the flow of it. But then I also recognize that on the other end, wealth sovereignty and autonomy is high priority, and that can only be accomplished through capitalism. So it's not the thing that is what people think of. It's the people that are associated with commonly. And I think it's capitalistic, or a conscious capitalist is another cool way of putting it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
man. I like that a lot. I think we align on a lot of beliefs in that too, for sure.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Heck yeah.
What do you think has been, what's a recent aha realization for yourself?
Dude, not to beat the dead horse, but I've been thinking about death a lot. That has been a recent aha moment. A family member, a distant family member passed away recently, but I've been, the immediate family member was impacted. And so just chatting with them, and it's they're feeling the void, right, of that person, and they're feeling a lot of mixed feelings and stuff like that. And dude, death has been on my mind a lot in a very positive and very constructive way. And it's almost exciting because I'm like, hell yeah, I got all this life to live. But it could be gone tomorrow. Like I could get hit by a bus. A bus could crash into my house right now. You know what I mean? It could be gone. And so it's don't waste it, man. That's that's what's hitting me a lot. And I've always been a very inspired and inspirational person. Like I was the kid that was watching the inspiring football movies, and the inspiring hero's journey. There we go. Perfect. I've always felt that hero's journey in those type of movies where you're in that person's shoes, right? You're like, wow, that's me. I feel that. I'm Spider-Man. I feel what he's going through. Like, you know what I mean? I feel I have called for something different and bigger purpose, and those are my superpowers. How do I figure out how to get them? And truthfully, death, and I know you said no cursing, but fuck it, has been
no, you can say cursing. You can go cursing.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
So the cursing policy was in pro of cursing. Yes. Okay, cool.
Fuck yes.
Yes, okay, cool. Because yeah, man, like, so it's like death, there's the reminder that's gonna happen. So fuck it. Live your best life. Go after it. Chase the dream. There's a song right now that has been on repeat. It's a country song. And so the country side of me loves it. It's called Till You Can't. And he says, chase your dream because the dream isn't chasing you back. And it's just like, that is boom, just hits the soul, because we get stuck, dude, especially with social media and the abundance of information out there. And all these other creators making all this stuff. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Who am I going to affect? And that's that imposter syndrome creeping in, and that's that doubt and things like that. So the aha moment lately has been, fuck it, man. Like totally just the health sovereignty is what I believe in. And I'll go to my grave with that, because that is rooted in a very positive intention, that's rooted in love, that's rooted in integrity, that's rooted in helping and service. And that's what I believe in. And so it's like, fuck it. Who's coming with me? Let's believe in this shit together and let's fucking do it. So that's the biggest aha moment lately, especially being a newer coach. I'm only 2 years into my business. I don't have a personal training background. I was a coach a little bit in college and stuff like that. I'm a lifelong athlete, but every day I get that doubt of like, dude, you don't have a coaching degree, or you're not certified to be this, person and things like that. And it's like, no, I have life. I have a health coaching certification. I have this experience. I've helped myself and I'm helping others. That is valid as fuck. You know what I mean? I have a program and I have systems to follow. And so that comes back to the progress, right? And that happiness. So it's just cool, all full circle, man. But big aha moments lately have been around death and just embracing that fuck it, man, and just the more you show up for yourself, the more you show up for others, and the more you empower others to do it, and beautiful. Yeah.
Dude.
Stoic as fuck.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think I think that's cool. Something I think is kind of crazy with death as well. I had this conversation a little while back, but I wanted to share it with you because I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for myself, there used to be a fear of death. Actually, I remember as a kid, I was very animately fearful of the day I would die. Like I remember as a kid, like just crying. And then like there was one night prominently where I was crying and my mom's like, "What is up?" And then I told her, I'm like, "I'm scared of going to sleep because I might die." And I was
Wow.
crying. And
Interesting.
it's very vivid. I'd have to like, so
Yeah.
that's just in my mind. I'd have to like confirm that story, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's like right there. And it's interesting because now my whole concept of death is so interesting. Like I look at it now as this is our first time experiencing life,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we look at the span of the universe, and this in Ottawa, they kind of estimate that it's actually around 23.7 billion years now. Which is
Okay.
kind of cool. It used to be 13, but now it jumped up 10 billion years.
That's
But the thing,
wild.
if you think of like the very, very beginnings of time where it just everything just
Mm-hmm.
happened, no matter what the person's a subjective person's belief is, for things
Sure.
to have created, it must have not been in existence to start with.
Something happened.
Yeah. It's just shit happened and here we are. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so there's that point in time up until this point in time. And we're still in the middle of time because time is still further along than us. So it's like when we
Mm.
see the stars are actually in the past while we are in our present. And something that is very humbling is that for myself, at least, I've experienced more non existence than existence.
Mm.
This is my first time experiencing life.
Mm.
And with that, I've actually found peace where death is just what we experienced before we were born. We've already experienced death. We have not
Interesting.
experienced life, at least
Yeah.
in this. If someone believes in reincarnation, or at least a
Right.
variation of reincarnation,
Right.
because I do think our consciousness zooms out of our mind, because the only thing that's separating each human being and individual is our consciousness. Your
Mm-hmm.
consciousness is different than my consciousness, but our
Yeah.
software is all the same stuff.
Mm.
Uh, and I think um, that has brought peace because now I experience this reality as a dream, where I'm experiencing it as the dream where I get to participate in creating this fullness.
Mm.
I get to participate in playing this game. I get to participate in
Mm.
practicing gratitude and experiencing love, because I like the concept that we are spiritual beings experiencing humanity rather than us being humanity experiencing spirituality.
Mm.
And that whole like little snippet has brought a
Yeah.
lot of peace in my existence. And I actually found that the times that I was the most anxious about death is when I found myself behaving the most incongruent with my visions and values.
Right. Right. Whereas when you are in alignment with those things, it's like, well, I could die and that's okay. One
Totally.
thing that you were saying about the participation of like with that divine kind of conscious being, right?
Mhm.
And the fact that which I believe is a fact. I believe we very much so believe in the same thing as far as not reincarnation, but the physical flesh being a vessel, right? Of
Yes. These are our
um,
avatars.
yeah, but the participation on passing something on, like you get to participate
Mm.
in uh helping this spirit, helping this entity or this divine kind of consciousness that we have, being
Mhm.
able to participate in something like that and add to it, add your flair, which is interesting because that's fascinating as fuck. Um, because now we get to continue passing that. It's kind of like a lineage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it also makes me think of kind of that unity of God and divinity,
Mm-hmm.
in all of us, right? And what if all religions, that's what it is talking about, is something that is within all of us, right? And that is continuing, right? And who knows, dude, the world could be, if you picture like a drawing, you know what I mean? And like a birth, buildings, advent of technology, humans, all these things, and then everything dying, maybe because catastrophic events, floods,
Mm-hmm.
fires, whatever. But the earth is so old and we just can't date back to 10 billion years ago or whatever, or million, whatever it was. And we can't even track back to another society that once was. It's just we're only familiar with the one that we're in now. And so what if it just continues again, right? It's like even down to the material things, right? The
Yeah.
organic matter, it's all made of organic matter, whether it's man-made or earth-made, it's still the earth is going to break it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like whether there are buildings from an ancient civilization, we only know what our nearest ancestors were brought or what have created, right? It's
Totally.
like it's a fascinating idea, and I think that goes to I think Hindi culture and kind of I don't want to misspeak, so I won't even. Yeah,
If you can think of, this is my loophole if I can't figure out like exactly what it is, but if you know the
yeah,
concept of it, what's the concept of the practice or the thought?
yeah. I think like as far as like Buddhism or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I think so. Yeah, like either Hindi or well, Hindi is a language, isn't it? I'm sorry,
Yes,
I'm
it's all
sounding
good.
like a ignorant American, but yes, I think it's rooted in like
America.
Buddhism and Muslim. I think, or one or the other.
Mhm.
But that yeah, reincarnation kind of.
Oh yeah,
I could
I think it's I
totally be
think
talking out of my ass though.
yeah, that's fair. I think for Buddhism there is a reincarnation component to it, and I actually like I think it's interesting because I think we limit reincarnation to just the lives that we live. I actually think that every moment that we get to make a decision is the opportunity to reincarnate into the individual that we wish to be. So
That's fascinating.
if we're scaling down reincarnation to a micro, that's
Mm,
decision making.
that's dope. Wow.
So
Yeah.
it puts it's the I try to prior actually yeah, insight on how I conceptualize it. I try to prioritize a concept into how I can bring the best version of me out. And I
Mm,
find that many folks until they because we're not taught to bring out the best. We're only taught
mm,
to bring out our mediocre. I'm not even going to say our
mm.
worst. I'm going to say our mediocre because
Yeah.
that's what's commonly accepted.
Yeah.
So we create the structures, the sentences,
Mm.
the words that create. I actually refer to words as the macronutrients for our mental health
That's
or our
awesome. I
mental
love these.
fitness.
What are those idioms that you have?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Aren't they? I
I'll,
just
I'll, have to,
idioms.
I'll have to
I
Google it.
love that.
But
Yeah.
because
It's just metaphors. I think they're just metaphors.
or
I love them.
all there's not automatopoeias. There's not that one. Yeah. That one I know for sure what it is, and that one's just like
Yeah.
sound. But I think so. If I can take the concept of reincarnation and see if it's like super huge, but I can apply it to a smaller way that benefits me the most,
Mm.
then my priority is the benefit. And that goes the same with clients
Yeah.
too. It's like
That's
if
beautiful.
someone says words that are disempowering, or as I like to call them, non-functioning compared to functioning. There's functioning
Mm.
opinions and there's non-functioning opinions. And the non-functioning opinions are the ones that help or harm our chances of getting to where we want to go, while functioning opinions are the ones that help us and encourage us to get to where we want to go.
Wow. It's
And
fascinating. I like
it's
that.
it's breaking it down and it's breaking it down into those columns and then retraining it.
Mm.
Because actually, I'll share this one with you because it's a neat little fun fact. But the word abracadabra, I've been using this one a lot recently. But the word abracadabra, most folks commonly think magic and pulling the
Mm-hmm.
rabbit out of the hat. But abracadabra is Aramaic, which was Jesus's language way back in the day. And it's 3 words, and it translates to, and I'm going to paraphrase it, with my words, I create.
Mm.
So if we're paying attention to the words that we speak, it's an indicator of the future that we're going to have.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Right. So think of internal dialogue. If the internal dialogue is working against us rather than for us, but if it's working against us rather than for us, then we're going to behave in a way that is in alignment with the words that we speak, either internally or externally.
Yeah, it's man, that's great. Tony Robbins said years ago, or still says, but it stuck with me long time ago. Where focus goes, energy flows. And that's like nailing it. And I recently heard a little excerpt from him, and he said, you are living the life that you've been focusing on.
I like that. Yeah.
Right. To bring it into the present moment, right? It's like, okay, where focus goes, energy flows. What am I going to focus on now? What life do I want to create? But like, hey, remember what you've been focusing on is currently what you're living right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got a shiver.
Man.
I got a shiver.
It's good.
Yeah.
And so
goosebumps. Nice.
It comes down to that intent, man. And yeah, just intentionally living the life that you want to live, and more so becoming. I think that's another aha moment that I've had recently with clients, specifically in my philosophy and things like that. Is I've just found myself saying this last week or so on my clients' calls, and telling them, hey, the goal isn't, we lost 20 pounds. That's awesome. Absolutely. But that's not really the goal. The goal is to become someone else, not forget who you are, but truly to alter, right? To shift your identity, to raise your standards for yourself, right? And it comes back to the habits and the strategies and the tools and tactics that we can put in there, and the data we can collect to get the right education and feedback from it, right? But it's truly about becoming. It's like you said earlier, if you want love, become more love, right? And all of a sudden, there's more love happening. You want, people are like, oh, I want an amazing partner and stuff like that. Well, become an amazing partner for yourself. Do the work, self-love. Don't go on any dates, and date yourself. Become that love person, so that now, as we know, the reticular activating system in the brain and the law of attraction and all that woo-woo shit, it's going to happen. You're going to bring that person in because, again, it just comes back to that discipline is the ultimate form of self-love, man. It's fascinating how it's all intertwined and all full circle. And then I think the hard part that people struggle with, and we all struggle with, is how do we piece it all together? Yeah.
I think to a theory that I have for piecing it all together, I think that, or actually a question, I talk about this a lot. It's like it's a philosophy that I've just kind of adopted, and it's the question. It started with a question. My whole journey of self-development started with a question, where I really noticed the difference. And the question that I was out walking, had a little weed and walk, and it was a good time. And then the question popped up of, what is the truest truth? And so I came up with, okay, if I were to figure out what the truest truth is, then I have to have a framework that creates boundaries around figuring it out. So in this journey of figuring out what the truest truth is, the main thing that I've been observing is the common denominators across a variety of different modalities. So if it's philosophy, religion, anthropology, architecture, mathematics, story, like a whole bunch of different things. And it's trying to answer this question, what was the truest truth? And what I found is, by trying to, and I think I kind of have an answer, which is like the closest thing that I have an answer to, like presently. I'll share that in a second. But when we figure out where those common denominators are, then it's not having to figure out which one to stick with. It's which parts are the most common denominators, and that is what makes progress easier. So for an example that's usually pretty predominant for most folks is religion and philosophy. Religion and philosophy have the same common denominator. Don't be a piece of shit human being, right? It is the subjective individuals within those two parties that will use it however they wish. So that's the common denominator. So that brings out the question, what is the difference? And in my opinion, the difference between philosophy and religion is whether or not the subjective individual works better with external accountability, or, so that's religion, or they have enough internal accountability. That's philosophy. Because if you look at like any of the times where an athlete, especially movie stars, whatever, celebrities, whenever they win something, they either thank God or they take the Snoop Dogg route where they thank themselves.
Thank myself, my family. Yeah.
Right? So that's what I think is the difference between the two. So then if the idea is don't be a piece of shit human being, then what are the common denominators among all the religions? And what is the grandfather to those particular beliefs? So I think that with having like this openness, there's no limitation capped outside of the mental cap. So if I cap myself, then that's where the extent of this possibility or the possibilities of this question can go. But if I don't cap it, if I have it as an objective observer rather than a subjective, if I just have it as an objective observer, then I'm able to see things rather than look for things, and they try and just pop up. And it's like, oh, this is connected with this. Oh, this is connected with this. If you look at most philosophies, most religions, it just loops back down. Self-actualization is the whole process. It's pretty interesting. And then
this is really interesting. I'm really happy this conversation is veered into all of this.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
This is a crazy good one.
It's great, man.
So the best answer that I have for this question that got me rolling on this journey is that the common denominator of what is the truest truth is that we are, and I mean we as in I look at it from the smallest atom to the ever expanding universe. We're like those, those little Ukrainian dolls or the Russian dolls where you pop them in.
Yeah. One inside of the other.
Exactly. That's how I view it. And so what I've actually come up with is that we are the one sum, 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 the one sum. We are a collective. We are a collective, although we believe there is disconnection. And
fascinating.
And because the way I think of it is, like I said, the only thing that separates you and I or any other person is our consciousness. If we extend the time horizon far back enough, to which I like to use the beginning of the universe or the universe as we know it, then we are all the same matter in the material as the universe itself.
Yeah.
So we are the one sum. The only differentiator is the consciousness. However, I also think that there is a linked consciousness or source or universe past that point as well. And that's just like, man, it's so interesting because there's like parts of that where it sounds like woo, like that part sounds woo. And I have no idea if this is correct, but there is so many links all across so many points that, and even in my intuition, I feel it's like, oh, that feels true, which I find to be interesting. But the one sum has been, what is the truest truth is that we are the one sum. And I think that kind of like similar to health sovereignty, right? I think that there's the same individuals that want to keep people average health so that they're still able to make money, because people can't make money off of dead people. So if you can keep people sort of unhealthy, then they can make money off of that. And I think that the same things that are trying to keep us dependent dwellers rather than autonomous action takers is the same things that's creating an environment to which there is division. And I look at it like I believe Lao Tzu, The Art of War. If you want to defeat your enemy, create division. And I do believe
Yeah.
this could be, I don't know, maybe it's like tinfoil hat style, but this is kind of just what I observe, is that if there is more division created, then there cannot be any unity. There cannot be people coming together, because power in numbers. So let's say hypothetically it's the government. The government, which I am a really hard line on, where less government involvement in my life is my preferred method of existence. And
Yeah.
so if the government doesn't want to be taken over because their shady shit is shady, and they're like, oh, we got to keep our shady shit secret, it's creating division among individuals, to which there may not be division.
Right.
And I think when we have that one sum, because it's led with love as well, and full circle.
Full circle, man. Absolutely, man. Well said. I love how a lot of these points really point to uh um intuition, I think. And like it sounds like you're pretty tapped in with intuition, and it sounds like maybe you've done some work there, and that's been an area of my life that I've really tried to. I actually, it's interesting to look back. Oh wow, I haven't talked about this story in a while, dude. There was a time when in our life when we went to church and stuff. I had to have been like 8, 9, 10 years old around that time. And we went out to see this famous pastor speak. Super powerful guy, and very loud and exuberant and just awesome, right? I remember that very vividly. But he pulled me out of the crowd, and he said that I would be a prophet one day, and he said that I had this God-given gift, you know what I mean? And I'm a child, and he's telling me this, and I remember laying down. It's funny. I could smell him, and I could smell his endorphins and his perfume, or his cologne and stuff he was wearing at the time. And I remember laying down on the floor because he was like praying over me and stuff. And he was saying all this, you know what I mean? You're going to be a powerful prophet. You're going to impact thousands of people, things like that. And I believe it. I don't believe that I'm going to be a prophet necessarily, but I believe I'm and we are all inclined to tap deeper into our intuition.
Yes.
Because I do think that intuition is a piece of God. Maybe it is God, right? Because that is within all of us. We inherently know what is wrong or right. We all have a gut feeling. You know what I mean? Or not what is wrong and right, but what is aligned with us, and what is aligned with that, which I think is that higher consciousness, which is love, right? So it's really fascinating. Wow, yeah, I haven't even thought about that story in a while. That's really fascinating.
I actually
Don't even know where I was going with that, but just kind of brainstorming it out loud.
So I just wanted to really write this one down because you're putting some really cool freaking thoughts up. Intuition is a form of orientation. So intuition works as a compass to orientate us in alignment. And if we're working
like
against it, then our intuition is going to provide us feelings of anxiety, frustration, those kind of things. So intuition as the compass, as the form for orientation, or as a form of orientation. I think that's cool. Something else.
That's very cool.
I actually got like a little priest vibe story to tell as well. I told Kendra this.
Really?
Yeah. I think I've told Kendra this, but you'll be the second person. I don't think anyone else is at all. But there's two things that's kind of interesting. One thing is I actually have had a priest in my family. I'm not sure if he's still practicing, but he was like monk mode. But it's so funny because he could still drink and swear. Like, I'm from the East Coast, so there's like a lot of shenanigans. But he's gone all over the world as a missionary and stuff like that. But there is actually, so that could possibly have some influence. Another thing that's really interesting, and this is, now it's going to be woo, but I think it's kind of a cool story. I went to a reading because it's called the Russian Tea Room. It's a place here in Edmonton. And I went for a reading, and they did a past lives one. And I thought that was interesting. And there is one.
I would love that.
There was one that and I'm also trying to, I'm curious about this. Like, I think curiosity is what is helping with me just being able to find that, like, I'm trying to tune myself. Like, everything's a
Mhm.
practice in tuning the self, because we're just instruments. Oof,
Love that.
for
Woo.
this, for this universe, which is our one song
Woo.
as the one sum. Oof.
Ah,
So
love this.
there was one of those past lives in accordance to the psychic, this medium, and she was saying that she could see there was a, maybe not a priest, but there was some sort of like a, those kind of like a spiritual leader. And
Right.
I've been much closer to going more like, I've had huge inspirations from Tibetan Book of the Dead, huge inspiration from shamanism, from
Cool.
um, a lot of these more like spiritual or like awakening kind of
Mhm.
folks. And
Yes.
I don't know. And so the lady was like, you were one of those peeps back in the day. And she remembers like fire. She's like, fire. There was fire at some point, kind of thing. And
Fascinating.
went into more detail of it. I don't recall most of it, but right when you started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. But I think
Yeah.
that there is a part of that that is really latched on, that maybe there is some truth to it, but I find that intuitively, I'm actually just going with the flow of things. Like,
Mm.
I'm just going with it. I chose to step out of my way to be able to allow this flow to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of release some resistance to it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Is your camera kind of focusing in and out or what? What's it doing?
No, I think it could have been a phone call, but we're good.
Oh, gotcha.
Uh, yeah, but intuition, that's actually a cool story. Oh man.
Yeah,
Has it
that's great.
has intuition ever led you wrong?
It has. Yeah, man. I've mainly with relationships, I think, my intuition to trust maybe some red flags I saw or something like that, right? Or to say something that I believed in but I didn't say, right? Or
Mm,
um, to tap into a feeling, right, and explain it a little bit more rather than holding it in or something like that, right?
mhm.
Um, and that could be, a little bit of people pleasing type of traits and things like that that I've picked up from my past or whatever. But yeah, it has steered me in some tough situations in my life. Um, but it's also it's fun kind of figuring it out too. It's kind of like, well, cool. Now I look back and know that I don't want to do that again. So let me not repeat that. It's kind of like the power of like using regret as a tool. Like, will I regret not saying something, in this situation when it reoccurs in my life again? Or can I totally mitigate that and not even get into that situation again? um, which comes with awareness, right? And being actually able to aware your current situation and things that are going on and think critically about it, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I can't really think of any specific examples, but yeah, man, I'd say primarily in relationships. I'm a deep lover, very passionate, very Scorpio, if you will. And I just kind of dive all in and learn to be tread a little bit more lightly, if we will, you know what I mean? And take my time. So that's
Nice.
cool. But yeah, man, intuition is the big, it's a big thing I learned in my last relationship. My last partner, she really helped me work on that a lot and just tapping in with myself and following my true north, my true that internal compass, because it's there, it's powerful, and when we ignore it, it shows up, I believe, in physical forms, right? Whether it be blocking of the chakras, if you believe in the chakras and the energy sources in the body, it could be not showing up as your full self, right? It's kind of a blockage, or it could be literally a physical dis-ease in the body, right? Not necessarily a tumor or like cancer or something, but over the years maybe. But yeah, we got to kind of feel it to heal it, kind of thing, and we got to tap into it, um, to heal, and become healthy. Yeah, it's cool. I love the idea that this is all it's all an ongoing journey. There's no like real destination to all of this, right? And like even what a lot of what we're talking about is part hypothetical, part what we've gone through, part what we've read and experienced and stuff like that. And I just love that. It's like, yeah, this is our dance. This is our dance of life, and we get to have fun with it and believe what we want, and make, as long as it's rooted in good intentions and love, it's like, hell yeah, full send,
Totally. Because
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
yeah, totes, man. I'm just like
Totes.
I'm just feeling everything. I'm like, this feels good. This feels
Yeah.
good. I
Hell
think
yeah, man.
I think that I actually found kind of similar, because when I asked the question, I was kind of like thinking about the question myself. And I found
Mm.
that intuition takes a period of time where you got to tune it. I think that it's like
Mm.
like a tuning fork. You
Yeah.
get to feel different vibes of different folks. And I
Mm.
think, and I noticed this, there's definitely still a couple of vibes where I'm not 100% on it, but I just like observe. So there's not that long ago, I felt like in my intuition, it felt like static, which is interesting, because normally I have a flow, like there's a flow through me. This sounds so weird, but whatever. But there was like a static in my intuition. I'm like, that's new information. I'm not sure what that
Mm.
is. And then I just like sat in it. I'm like, I'm just gonna observe for a little bit, just to like understand, just like kind of feel it out. And it felt like static. And it turned out to be uh when this other person said something, and then my thought
Mm-hmm.
was, you're so full of shit. And it was one where I was like confident on it. I was like, that's where that static came from. Like my intuition knew before I even consciously had an indication that that person
Yeah.
was not like not ill intent, had good
Mm-hmm.
intentions, just a different thought process.
Right.
And I think that period of time, so what you were talking about, where you had the time where intuition led you wrong, but I think that's also the point where it's also you're tuning to what that even feels like too.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's pretty
Big
neat.
time. I like that tuning of the intuition. That's cool. I like that a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet, my dude. Man,
This is great, man.
this is a great conversation. Yeah. There's actually
Yeah,
a
it's
couple parts
awesome.
where I actually forgot we were on a podcast and I was
Same.
just in the
Just
conversation. I
just
was like, this
just
is
in it.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
I love it when I get the opportunity to like make notes and stuff. It's like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah.
So in saying that as well, I just want to acknowledge you first and foremost. Gonna
Thank
ease
you,
on
man.
out of this one. I want to acknowledge you and say that met you a year ago. Obviously, we follow each other on the grams, and
Obviously.
overall, you're just bringing a lot of life, a lot of energy, a lot of intuition, a lot of care to your character, and I totally can recognize and I can recognize how that ripple effect is positively impacting the people around you. And I get good vibes from you. So I
Thank you.
think that it's very important to, as my friend Ryan Sprague would say, game recognizes game.
Game recognizes game.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for being the human being that you are, and bringing the character that you wish to be to life.
Yes. Wow, man. Thank you. I'm sitting with those words, and I really appreciate that, man. Um, it's cool because, yeah, a theme of my life the past year, 2 years, especially like going through this entrepreneurial journey and building my business and stuff, is like you said, kind of becoming the man that I admire the most. What are the characteristic traits? What are the disciplines, right? How do people, what's his demeanor? How do people perceive him? How does he treat people? What are his intentions? What are his actions? Um, does he follow through with his words, right? Like, or with does he follow up his action or words with action, right? Like, does he let his actions speak louder than words, rather than just, telling people I'm going to do this, rather than just doing it? Um, because we're all big kids, and we're all trying to. I think it's a fun dance to kind of like be that person and that we needed the most growing up, and that takes like figuring out that little kid, you know what I mean? And um, yeah, it's cool. So I appreciate you saying all that, and I appreciate yeah, I'm saying thank you and taking it in. Appreciate that, man.
Your
It's
thanks.
important. Yeah.
Your thanks is received.
Yeah, man. And thank you for having this platform to be able to share my story, share this. I would love to do this again. This is awesome. I think we could really draw up some really interesting conversation, and this is just on the fly, baby. We could what we could cook up. What we could cook up would be pretty sweet, man.
Oh,
So
I completely agree.
yeah, next time I'm in Washington, maybe I'll book a flight over to where you're at. Be a little closer, I think.
It's also on my list to head down to Austin too. So I definitely want to basically go through all the episodes I've had and try to have more in person, because the energy is like
awesome.
If this is the vibe as is, then an in-person one would just be absolutely phenomenal. So
yeah, we'll do it, man. We'll rent a space. We'll do it legit, everything. Yeah. That'd be dope.
So good. So before I go into the last two questions, my favorite
Oh, geez.
I have one question just as a kind of like a finisher. Is there anything that has to be said that hasn't been said?
Damn, dude. It's good. Yeah, there is, man. I think it's kind of that stoic philosophy of the obstacle being the way, and Ryan Holiday talks a lot about that. I think that's one of his books, The Obstacle is the Way. And that is such a key to so many people suffering. So I guess, yeah, what I could say is to tap into that, right? Your biggest traumas, whether it's abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, whatever, right? Whatever you went through as a kid, and don't compare it to anybody else's. It's your story is valid. Your story is true to you, and we are a lot happier when we start to work on those obstacles, and when we overcome them, and our insecurities become little funny things that we think about, and we're just like, I got a big forehead, that's fucking hilarious. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just when you get to that point, at that fuck it point, you can't really get there without I think Bedros Keuilian talks about slaying the inner dragons. And these are our traumas, and he talks openly about being sexually abused as a kid and stuff. And it's powerful, man. Especially as men, we need to have that outlet, because we're not constructed to be okay with that, right? And be okay with these traumas and stuff like that. And so, or not, we're not brought up through society. So just, yeah, man, tackle those inner dragons, and tackle the obstacles in the way, because those will bring you the most freedom in life. And just speaking from my personal experience, you know what I mean? Like, my nickname was K-Dome as a kid, like, because I had a big forehead. So my older brothers called me K-Dome. And I'm like, hell yeah, K-Dome, what's up, man? That's me. So it's like, it's these little things that if someone doesn't like you for them, fuck them. I love you, but fuck you. So it's like, yeah, and the obstacle is the way, I think, is something that we haven't really talked about. And dealing with those past traumas, that helps you find that intuition a little bit more, and adjust that tuning fork, right? And yeah, man, it's good. I think that's really powerful. And especially as men, I know a lot of men will listen to this. Talk to somebody, man, whether it be an app. There's apps you could chat with someone if you're scared of going in person. You know what I mean? Talk to someone. If you're down and out, reach out to somebody. Reach out to me. Reach out to Kyle. You know what I mean? It's like, there's so many outlets, and it's scary. So yeah, deal with those inner dragons.
I like that.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that was good. That was a good little finish upper on that one. So going into the Oh, I almost went on a tangent there, but I'll go into the questions. Uh, you're at the end of your life. You're on your
Mm.
deathbed. You're surrounded by the people that you care for. What is the piece of advice that you want to pass on? No content of yours exists.
Wow. Damn. That's really fitting for where what we've been talking about and what I've been
Oh
dealing
yeah.
with in life, or just the
Yeah.
philosophy of life. I think man, kind of just like go all out, like don't like empty the tank, not in the sense of like grinding, you know what I mean? And like grind, make millions of dollars and things like that. But like empty the tank, be as present as possible and as rooted as possible in the present moment so that you can enjoy every little thing. If you're on a phone call, be on that phone call. If you're with your wife or your partner, be in that conversation and in that time. If you're with family, teach your kids stuff. Be there. Don't be on your phone. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I think that would be a huge thing because I wanted to offer something different, because I heard you ask that to somebody else, and they said they talked about death, I think it was, and they said, be keep in mind that you will die one day or something like that, and
Mhm.
we've touched on a lot of that already, so that's good. But learn to just be as present as possible and enjoy each moment as much as possible. Um, and don't leave anything unsaid, and obviously root things in a positive manner and with love. But if you got something to say it, even if your voice shakes, that's okay. You know what I mean? Because that's real and you can feel that. um, so yeah, man, just empty the tank and pour your heart out. I think that's something we all need to hear every now and again.
Fantastic. And then the
Yeah.
final question.
Damn.
Yeah, it's also another thinker. So the best version of you is sitting
Mm.
next to you right now. What piece of advice does he give you for this season of your life?
Mm. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. That reminds me, Ed Milet.
Mhm.
He talks about when you die, you go to heaven. And he says,
Mm.
well, when you die, you go and you meet, the person that you could have been, like the highest version of yourself. And he's like, heaven is meeting that person and being good friends, best friends. Like, hey, I see you. And hell would be being completely strangers. So that's powerful shit. So if I had that guy with me right now, I think he would tell me that same advice that I just gave to the previous question of sitting on my deathbed.
Nice.
Um, just play all out, go all out, leave nothing unsaid, pour your heart out into it, pour your heart into everything I do. Um, yeah, and don't give a fuck. I still get stuck in that's one of my themes in my life is not giving a fuck. And so that's something I've come into lately, and it's really fun and powerful, you know. Um, so yeah, he'd say something like that if that
That's
if that
awesome.
all makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've got for you in today's episode. Where can people find you, Caleb?
Yeah. Instagram, TikTok, just Caleb Wood Fitness across the board. Yeah, reach out. That's my main platforms that I'm using. I don't even have a website, so that's where you can find me. Mainly Instagram. I'm mainly active on there, but TikTok's pretty fun as well. So yeah, I'm also in Austin. So if you're in Austin, reach out to me. I'd love to meet up. We could do some breath work, get a workout in, or anything kind of fun. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Nice. Eventually, I'll make my way down there.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you love today's episode, please do me a favor right now. Take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram and tag me with my handle at DapperDudeKyle, along with at Caleb Wood Fitness. This is one of the ways that we grow. And until next time, keep up the kindness. And I hope your day treats you as good as you look.